Hello everybody. My name is Phil Cooper. I'm the European MD of Brightroll. Brightroll's a video network. Previously I started a company called UTarget in 2005, which was the UK's, if not Europe's, first video network. Video advertising has been slow to adopt the changes that have been seen in performance marketing as far as audience targeting is concerned. Notably, the advancements in performance marketing which have revolved around RTB and exchanges have allowed impression-level buying, which is now crossing over into video advertising. My panel of guests are amongst leaders in both video and audience targeting. With me here is Jana Eisenstein, who is the Director of Publisher Services, MEF for Videology. I have Andy Sarfaz, who's the Director of Special Operations at Telemetry. And finally, Ryan Keane, who's the Director of Business Development at Audience Science. If I could allow my panel guests to introduce themselves. So, Jan.
Thank you. Hi. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. As Phil said, I'm Jana Eisenstein. I'm from Videology, and Videology is basically a company that at the core of our business, it's a video advertising platform. And I guess targeting or audience targeting is in the DNA of the company, really. It's been founded by the founding team of advertising.com. And if you remember them, that kind of the secret sauce of advertising.com was all about targeting, and it's really been looking at the needs of advertisers in the video area particularly, and developing a platform that can deliver kind of optimal campaigns according to video advertisers' objectives. So in that sense, what Videology does is at the fundamental, we're an advertising targeting platform where we basically optimize and we target video campaigns against campaign objectives. And at the same for advertisers, so most of our clients are advertising agencies and brands. And we also provide supporting services to accompany our platform, which includes anything from kind of data procurement to media procurement. And then, of course, we've got the ad targeting and the optimization reporting and analytics. In terms of our focus, like I said, it's video content, so we call it sight, sound, motion content. But we also are able to target across a number of platforms. So today, our major stapler volume is across the computer, so PC-type VOD content, but we're also capable of, and also doing it today, is having targeted video advertising across mobile platforms as well as connected TVs.
Thank you. Andy, tell me about Telemetry yourself, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Andy Sarfaz, work at Telemetry. We work directly with advertisers and agencies to serve and report on online video, interactive online video, and rich media campaigns. So we have a specific focus on full transparency of reporting across numerous metrics. So we're able to tell the advertisers, the agencies, and the publishers exactly how many ads have been requested, how many ads have been delivered, and importantly, we have a number of metrics that report what the consumer did whilst the ad was playing. So how engaged were they with the content? And that gives a good indication of the accuracy of the targeting. So did you reach the right audience? Were they engaged with your ad? So we go beyond just a simple how many ads were delivered. We try and get into the what was the consumer doing? So what was the audience doing whilst the ad was delivered? We work across a number of agencies, a number of advertisers, across all markets globally.
Okay. Right.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Phil. Pleasure to be here. My name's Ryan Keane, and I head up business development for Audience Science across Europe. So what is Audience Science? Well, Audience Science has been around for about 9 or 10 years, providing technology, primarily providing technology to web publishers, to the likes of the Financial Times or Sky or the New York Times, basically allowing them to aggregate their own data, to allow them to build audiences and to take out to market a data-driven audience solution to their advertising agencies. It's been known in the past as behavioral targeting. Now a lot more data is coming on board, hence the move to the new term of audience targeting. what we've seen recently is the move for advertisers and agencies to start taking on the platform themselves. So being able to manage their own data, they have a huge number of people going to their own websites. They serve up a huge number of adverts. They serve video ads. They look at engagement across all of these different channels, across search, across email. And they want a place where they can transparently aggregate their own data, build their own audiences, and use functionality like real-time bidding and demand-side platforms, and indeed publishers directly to be able to deliver those adverts. So recently we've seen a huge amount of growth with our company, with being able to provide that technology, that platform, and indeed additional data sets to advertising agencies directly alongside the publishers that we've been working with. So trying to tie together the whole ecosystem when it comes to audience targeting.
Thank you. Jana, so in fact, can you tell me what sort of audience targeting you incorporate at Videology?
Sure. We have a number of different types of targeting that we can incorporate. I think the fundamental type of targeting that we first of all incorporate is demographic targeting. And the reason being is in video, we believe that in order to grow the market, it's really being able to talk to TV planner buyers and talk to them in a language they understand. And historically or traditionally, TV planning and buying has been all around audiences. So I guess first and foremost, we target on a demographic basis, so age and gender. We also offer behavioral targeting, socioeconomic targeting, geographic targeting, of course, as well as contextual targeting. And then we have a couple of we can also incorporate, as required by the advertisers, search retargeting and other kind of very specific targeting.
Excellent. Would you say that video targeting, audience targeting, has caught up with performance targeting?
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Okay.
But the good news is it's definitely growing. Mm-hmm. Again, I think shifting spend into video advertising really has to come from moving some of the TV spend into video. And historically, again, TV planner buyers have bought on a contextual, on a placement basis. And I think just now, we've definitely seen over the last 18 months, the agency is starting to launch and focus on audience buying. It's moved into the video environment, and we've seen, certainly our clients have tested, and that actually what they're finding is that they are enjoying the benefits of a targeted media, but also that it has really detailed and robust analytics and reporting, and something perhaps they're not so used to from the TV environment. So, typically we find that once we work with an advertiser and they've actually, run some VOD campaigns with us, the spend starts to grow. So, we're not quite there yet, but it's encouraging.
Yeah,
it's growing.
Ryan, what audience targeting do you offer for video to your clients at the moment?
It's an interesting question. In terms of the specific audience targeting that we offer for video, it's exactly the same as the type of audience targeting that we would offer for display advertisers, for publishers who want to target specific content at their users. We find it's similar across all of those different channels. And the type of targeting, the history of the company has been from behaviors. So it's looking at where has the user been in the past, how many times have they engaged with certain areas, what content have they read, so looking at the actual words within articles, what searches have they performed, what industry do they work in, do they work for a big company or a small company. So that's been the sort of history of the company, and taking in any kind of registration information as well. What we've seen and what our company is doing now is working with companies to try and allow them to bring on board their offline data. So it's not just about online behavioral targeting anymore, but it's now talking to them and talking to their data people about what offline data do you guys have. If you're a telco, do you have a lot of offline data about your customers? Can we bring that on board? So that's the type of information that we're enabling advertisers to start using.
Do you distinguish between how you handle audience targeting for performance or video marketing? Is it the same?
It's the same types of data. It's just applied in a different type of way. So for something like for a brand advertiser, they still want that reach going on there, and especially for when it's applied to video. What you guys will also find in the UK, obviously, there's a huge number of banner ads, but the number of video ads out there is smaller, and people spend longer viewing those video ads. So those audiences need to be broader to try and get that scale out there.
Are you suggesting that maybe you'd use in-banner rather than in-stream video to retarget?
Exactly.
To get a wider audience?
Exactly, yeah. But also, there is, for a direct response advertiser, there's a sense of optimization that needs to go on, and you need to be able to have those kind of audience levers in there to work out which audience is working best, and then push the optimization towards that particular audience. Whereas if an advertiser has already determined that actually I want to reach ABC1 men aged 16 to 24 for my brand, because that's what I'm doing offline, then there's not necessarily any kind of optimization per se towards the right audience that necessarily has to go on for a brand advertiser.
Andy, your telemetry is in the job of more finding out if somebody has found the right audience, verifying, auditing that audience, and actually ultimately working out if that audience is doing what you want them to do, or gauging if they're engaging with the creative. How does telemetry do that?
Yeah, so I think that the first part of the puzzle is targeting your audience. You're right, finding the audience, getting them online, or getting your ads in front of them online. For me, and I was formerly at Reckitt Benckiser, so when I was placing ads for Reckitt Benckiser, for me the most important thing is to get engagement from the audience. So it's one thing to hit your 16 to 24-year-old male. The more important thing is to get them engaged with your advertising. So the right audience might not be engaged in every instance. So it depends on context, it depends on time of day of week, etc. So what telemetry do is we attempt to tell the advertiser and the publisher whether the audience is engaged. So you may have found your right audience online, but are they watching your video all the way through? Are they watching the video to the key point in the ad where you've got your message, your call to action? What are they doing whilst they're watching the video? Are they looking for a close button? Are they looking for a skip button? So we do heat maps, etc., mouse tracking to see what's the consumer doing whilst the ad is running. So you can see not only how much of the ad has the consumer watched, but have they engaged with the ad? One key point of difference that we do as well is we add elements of interactivity into the ad that asks the consumer to engage with the ad. So in my former days at RB, some of the examples were we were advertising surface wipes. So the ad, clearly, in most of the ads, it shows somebody using a surface wipe. So in the ad, you would ask the consumer to interact with the video in real time to use the surface wipe. And what that does is that tells us if the consumer is actually actively watching the ad and understanding. So if you can get the consumer actively engaged in your ad, as long as the creative agency have done their job correctly, then you're going to sell more product.
So you'd go as far as going back to the creative and developing creative that would have an extra engagement point to therefore measure engagement in the ad.
Absolutely, and through the metrics that we can deliver telemetry, you can test different creatives to see if it's engaging with your audience. Some creatives might engage with your audience during the daytime and not at night, not in the evening. You can see all of that data, and then you can work with your publishers to dynamically move the ads, change the creative, the time of day, etc. Was
there a particular time of the day that people interacted with the wipes more? Can you share?
Couldn't possibly divulge that.
Jana, talking about creative, do you find that there's a length of ad that you recommend to your clients that will perform better, and does that vary according to its position, pre or mid roll, or maybe the content length it's set against?
It's a really good question, when we get a lot of, and it's a good follow-on actually to what we were just discussing, and I think there it really depends on the objectives of the campaign, so it varies. What we found is that you get different results, or you reach different interaction levels depending on the length of the actual creative. So the longer creatives, we've seen empirically that you have, let's say, higher click-through rates. So if the campaign is all about engagement and response, then we would recommend a longer creative. If it's about that would be a 30-second creative. If it's a shorter creative, you get higher view-through rates, or basically higher kind of brand engagement rather than response engagement. And in terms of best practices and what we recommend, it's really understanding, first of all, what the objectives of the campaigns are, and then optimizing the different creative kind of lengths to meet that. And then also on top of that, what you do have, and this is what you're talking about, Andy, is you've got possibilities to enhance the creative. So you've got overlays, which might, again, incite you to perform some call to action. You can also have social sharing buttons in it, so you can share. You could also have special functionality, so calendar settings, all that sort of thing that will help you create the engagement you're looking for.
Excellent. Ryan, in-display real-time bidding has become very sort of central in the way that it actually now enables client advertisers to not just select which pieces of inventory they want, impression by impression, but also what they want to pay for each piece, impression by impression. Is real-time bidding very much part of your video roadmap or program at the moment?
Yeah, we use real-time bidding. In fact, we've spent a lot of time building our own bidder in itself, and it's being rolled out in the US at the moment. It's predominantly being used at the moment on banner ads, and I believe there are probably some in-video banner being used for that at the moment. We have a video proposition as well, and I don't know the dates exactly, but I'm sure the two of them will come together fairly soon. It comes up to that scale thing again as to how much video inventory is available in real time. I know there is video available in real time, but obviously the more that you get, the more targeted you can get and the more data that you can use for that.
And Jana, is real-time bidding something that's in your roadmap or in part of your platform at the moment?
Yeah, I think it just comes back to what you were saying about market maturity. So from video, it's definitely in our roadmap.
Yes.
It's something that we are and have been participating in for, let's say, the last kind of year in the US. Here in the UK, we haven't quite seen that liquidity yet in the market environment to allow us to run real-time bidding, but certainly as soon as the market is ready, absolutely we'd like to participate.
Jana, you mentioned television in the beginning, and that a lot of the budget currently sits, I believe video advertising budgets are split in between sort of ones which emanate from broadcast and some which come from the new media side.
Mm-hmm.
And the pot which is sitting on the broadcast side is very plentiful and not pushing over quite as quickly as we hoped in this world that we live in. In the TV world, they measure advertising in GRPs. Do you think that's a useful metric, or do you think that broadcasters will have to understand that a lot more can be done in the digital world with the statistics and reporting that we can offer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the questions discrete. I think that in order to shift more spend, it's an evolution, and what we've seen is that if we can move, if we can move the same type of metric into video, that will only help us in terms of shifting the spend. You're not fighting an uphill battle, and it's a metric that everybody understands. And it's certainly something that we're using on the video side, that we're trying to equalize and use something comparable to what you would have on a TV scale. So I think, yes, it's definitely, I think it's a good thing, and we should definitely move towards there. And at the same time, there are other metrics that are available in digital, and the TV planner buyers will learn to use them with time. But in order to build scale and to actually to create a sense of understanding and trust in the environment, I think it's important that we continue to work on that as well.
So effectively using the common language that the broadcasters understand, and then later on showing them there's a few other opportunities. Yeah. Right. Ryan, 59% of Americans surf the internet and watch TV at the same time. Do you have any sort of what they call two-screen strategies to target perhaps users that are on TV and also online?
Yeah, there is. There's a number of technologies out there. I mean, if you look at the likes of Sky with their set-top box and the Sky ID system, whereby they're trying to target people online based on their IDs and based on their individual identifiers, there are ways in which that can happen. There is going to be the advent and I suppose the dissemination more of IPTV, of HTML5, and all of these types of technologies, which are going to permeate the home a lot more than they do right now. Are going to enable that ability to target across multiple platforms. And I think if you look at companies like Google, who sit there and have built out their own way of analysing across multiple platforms, that type of technology is going to help being able to target users across those multiple platforms. that's the end goal, right? And
Yeah.
there are a number of routes at the moment, a number of technologies which look like they might be able to achieve that goal.
Great. In 2000, Bill Gates came up with his top 10 tips for the decade. One of those was that by the end of the decade, 2010, maybe we've been held back by the credit crunch, that all advertising would be online. I don't think people really interpreted what he meant back then, but I think part of what he meant was that everything would converge and be delivered by IP, Internet Protocol technology. Connected TVs are on the rise for sort of the first stage of integration. Jana, do you have much requests from advertisers to target connected TVs?
I think that the interest is absolutely there. I think the request will come once the scale is there. So I think everybody thinks it's an exciting medium. It's kind of converging, as you said, IP with the big screen, which is super exciting. But in order, for again, if you're looking at the TV buying community, even digital, if you want to target, you need some level of scale. So I think the initial interest is there. We certainly are working with advertisers with connected TV applications, but everybody will kind of jump in once we reach a certain scale.
So the interest is there, but not yet the scale. Andy, one area where possibly the scale is there is mobile, in the sense that there is a lot of mobile app inventory which videos can be served into. Is that something that telemetry is starting to put onto their roadmap in terms of advising
It's certainly
clients?
possible, and all of the testing's been done to allow videos to be served, and many, if not all, of the metrics reported on as well. But we've had no requests yet from clients or agencies for mobile campaigns. I think part of the issue is it comes back to the targeting. So you can target on mobile, but you don't know if you're hitting the same people that you've hit on your online campaign or on your TV campaign as well. So you might just be blowing your frequency. So it's a conundrum that hasn't been solved yet. The scale's certainly there on mobile in terms of devices, obviously, but whether consumers would be acceptable of a 30-second or a 15-second video commercial on their mobile device, I'm not sure. We haven't seen the demand from clients yet, but technically it's possible.
Ryan, do you have a mobile proposition at Audience Science that involves video? Or?
We have, so we work on cookies, and the inherent difficulty with a lot of third-party cookies is certain mobile companies don't allow you to drop those third-party cookies on the users, which causes technical problems. We have a mobile offering which is easier to roll out in countries such as Japan, which where we use the WAP technology over there. It's not a real-time targeting solution. However, it is something that we do, and it's something that we offer up to a couple of key clients that we work with in Japan. It is something that's on our roadmap to take a look a lot further at. At the moment, we've still got our hands full with the web.
We actually do work in mobile in the States. In the UK, again, it's on our roadmap. We'd like to launch it. I guess what we've seen in the US is, you're right, we've got the cookie issue is a big one in terms of targeting, in terms of capability. But with mobile, we target based on third-party data. So we do have ways of being able to target through acquiring third-party data for mobile applications, although you can't link it back to your online. But we have done it. We are running it, and we try to include mobile elements in campaigns. Again, the scale is still not entirely. Although there's a very high penetration of mobile handsets, the actual usage and inventory availability of mobile content for serving ads into is still quite small.
Right. Okay, thank you. Now, a lot of targeting is, as Ryan sort of initially brought up, is cookie-based. What cookieless targeting do you think will be introduced with the advent of the new EU directive, where opt-in, opt-out cookies become a thing of the past, potentially?
Oh, the wonderful world of privacy. Cookieless targeting. Well, I think there are companies out there who offer the type of targeting that has been done for forever with offline video and offline television where you've been able to target around certain types of content instead of targeting based on a cookie. At the moment, I'm hoping that cookieless targeting will not, or cookies will be okay to be used in the future, and that there's a few moves that are being made by the IAB around self-regulation of the cookies, etc., etc. So, cookieless targeting based on there are a number of different technologies out there, but they probably bring up their own issues in terms of privacy when you look at things like keyboard fingerprinting and targeting by a user's individual IP address, which in some countries is deemed as personally identifiable anyway. So. Actually, the premise of cookieless targeting based on an individual is hopefully something that won't have to happen, and we have a lot of work to be done to make consumers a bit more comfortable with the use of cookies.
Jana, do you have any opinion on sort of if we find ourselves, I know it's still not necessarily guaranteed, but if we do find ourselves in a cookieless environment for targeting, do you have any sort of
insight into
Yes.
it? Yeah. So I think that in that case we would be reliant on acquiring having offline sources of data and trying to match them. Okay, that's what we're doing through cookies right now, but we need to find other kind of ways of correlating the data. In terms of targeting, you would look at in contextual targeting or environmental targeting and just other ways of being able to understand. So, for example, in the mobile environment, certain handsets are for certain types of demographic profiles and that sort of thing. So you could, we'd have to look at kind of using extrapolation.
Back to the dark ages. Yeah.
Extrapolation, yeah. I mean, hopefully, I'm not sure if we're going to get there. The interpretations are, more for opt-in versus opt-out. Hopefully, it'll be opt-out. In the States, again, we're running with this icon, the opt-out icon, right. And in the US, they've decided to work on an opt-out basis.
At the browser level as well, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you've got the icon on the actual advert itself, and then you can also decide on a browser basis. Yeah. So we're working towards that.
Look, thank you very much for coming here today to discuss video audience targeting. Video audience targeting is very much catching up with the performance part of the online marketing mix, and can offer great opportunity to advertisers and clients to buy in a more TV manner, with TV scale, and advancements in the next year or two should actually enable buyers to actually achieve more than they can buy potentially from their TV, or at least complement their TV buys. It's been very interesting to hear all the different aspects of how different companies have advanced in the sector. I hope you find this very useful. But if you'd like to ask some questions to my panel, we've got 10 or 15 minutes. Please fire away. Does anybody have a question? Please.
Something that we always ask ourselves, it's the same direction as the cookie discussion. Like, how can we track the success of the video podcasts? It's the same thing, people download stuff,
Yes.
I'll try to carry it anywhere. The only figure that we get is like the number of downloads.
Okay.
Streaming
So-
can do many things. There's
So-
a lot of biggest you guys that listen to.
So how can we track video podcast downloads? Are there any other recommendations you have for the gentleman or for the audience? Andy, would you like to answer?
It's a tough one, yeah. I guess the easiest thing obviously is the number of downloads. Then I guess the only other way of doing it would be to somehow store the metrics locally when the videos are viewed, and next time they connect is to try and transmit that back. I guess there's going to be privacy concerns, etc. It's not something that we've done in the past, but I'm sure it's a challenge that the tech team would relish coming up with a solution for, but a tough one.
So no obvious solutions here above. Sort of measure the downloads and back to the tech team, I think, for that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something interesting, like if you show something at the end of the video, like go here and there and do an iPad or whatever, it's going to be working and you get some measurement. I thought there might be some other ideas about this. It's a technical problem, we don't have it actually, so maybe someone comes up with a great idea.
Thank you. And would anyone else like to ask a question? Yes, please.
So you discussed a little about the way the online market is converging more to the TV yes, and do you envisage there being changes to the way that broadcast sales houses operate and offer entry to become more involved in the online market?
So do we think that the broadcast sales houses will have to adapt to sort of to the way of online business effectively, or are there changes happening in that sense? Who would like to answer that one?
Yeah, I think I read an article a few weeks back about an agency in the US that was starting to do this. So for their, I can't remember which agency it was, primarily a TV house that was offering to buy audience across both TV and online. So clearly I think that's the future. So from an advertiser's point of view, I want the audience. Whether I reach it through Hulu or through broadcast, am I bothered? Not really, as long as I get the audience. And in fact, it's probably a benefit to buy across channels, because then I'm not blowing my frequency. As I talked about, if I want to hit the person 3 times, I want to hit them 3 times. I don't want to hit them 3 times on broadcast and 3 times online. So buying across multiple channels makes, as long as we can marry them up and make sure that we're not reaching them twice.
Which would require a panel, cross panel, and then cross-media panel.
Either across, so a Nielsen type panel that exists, or some other similar panel. But it would make sense. It seems to be the future. I think the article I read was as much about the pricing disparity between broadcast and online as well, and trying to bring them back into sync. So it's completely makes sense, and I would think it's the future. I think it's a very forward-looking strategy to follow from an agency.
Anyone else have a...
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think the latter's probably true in terms of TV starting to mimic a lot more about what online can offer. I'm not saying demographic targeting isn't going to exist. Of course it's going to exist, but I think there is going to be space for other types of targeting people based on their specific interests rather than their demographics, which fit very well alongside the traditional type of TV buying. If you look at companies like Sky, who offer their Sky ID targeted TV advertising that they can now do on TV through their set-top boxes, that's absolutely the way in which I think people are going to be going, and companies are going to be moving forward.
Any other questions, please? Okay, well, thank you for attending, and if you would like to ask anyone a question afterwards, please do.